Oh my God! Victory Sunday.
The Giants look at their schedule and they go, "Oh, the Detroit Lions," and they put the big W, right?
Right.
It's folks. It's everybody that is on the screen right now that is what makes this special, because this organization has been so bad for so long. Yet here we all are on a Sunday night at 7:00, chopping it up about this football team, because winning 3 in a row and getting this done for the first time since 2017, and like Mark said, having some momentum for this fan base.
When we played against the Patriots one game on Thanksgiving, I had a pretty good game too, and it was just the atmosphere is just different. It's just there is just everybody's ready. You get a chance to wear the throwback uniforms. It was just.
I think it's a mixture of both. I think you got to have a good program, but I think the city, the way it's viewed nationally, like the people in Detroit, the
And welcome to the Detroit Lions News Show, your number one source for Detroit Lions news. And we have a very, 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 very special guest here. We got Joseph P. Chapp, the founder of the Detroit Lions news page. 56K, and every time I look at it, it goes up another K.
It keeps growing. Yeah, it just keeps growing and growing and growing.
So you are insider today. Damn, we got lots of stuff to talk about. We're hoping for a couple other guys to jump back on. Joe, explain where you come from, what do you do, and how did you get involved with this?
Okay, so originally I started just as I wanted to do journalism, and then I realized journalism absolutely blows. So I didn't do journalism anymore. So I just do like this Lions stuff, Lions content, because I don't really want to write articles. I want to create content. But midway through my journey with this whole thing, I took a 2-year break because I wanted to go into scouting. I wanted to go into a front office. And then ultimately I realized that's really hard if you want to have a family. So I stopped that, and I focused all my attention on creating content for Lions fans and creating content for Detroit sports fans with my Between the Whistles Detroit. So yeah, it's growing even more every day than I thought it would.
No, I know it's awesome. It's really awesome. It's a great page. You reference I don't know where you get all these insiders from, but today or yesterday, you put everybody on a cliffhanger. You knew there was something coming down the pipe, and it happened. Or was that the day before with Teddy Bridgewater?
No, it was yesterday.
Yeah.
So I was tipped off that maybe there was going to be a move that was made by the Lions. I didn't know exactly what it was, so I wasn't going to be like, "Oh, I know what it is," because when everything happens like this, like let me give you an inside course. So like whenever you have a situation that's still developing, so like there's a player getting signed, a player getting traded, or something along those lines, what you get yourself into sometimes. What the hell? What you get yourself into sometimes is you get yourself into a little bit of a case by case basis where sometimes it's like you think someone's gonna get signed, and then it doesn't happen. So that's what I was kind of holding out on, but that's mostly what I was thinking.
So the Detroit Lions signed Teddy Bridgewater, drafted in 2014 with the 32nd pick by the Minnesota Vikings, our nemesis there. And then he played for the Jets 2018 and 2018 to 2019 with the Saints, where Dan Campbell was a coach on that coaching staff. And then he played for the Panthers in 2020, 2021. He played for the Broncos. This guy's been around. Then he played for the Dolphins last year. Made the Pro Bowl in 2015, all rookie in 2014, Big East offensive player, 267 attempts, 1,372 completions. Completion rate about 64%, which ain't too bad. 75 touchdowns to 47 INTs. Passer rating, which is a little bit low, is 90.5. Rushed for 11 TDs and 846 on the ground. Joe, with your professional opinion, with your knowledge, being an insider, is this the best move for the Detroit Lions? Talk about it, brother.
You have to remember though, when you get a backup quarterback, that's like the biggest thing. So like a lot of what I was saying yesterday on my YouTube page, Between the Whistles Detroit, was like, when you're a team that's contending, you make an investment into your depth. Like you make an investment into like your backup quarterback, you make an investment into your backup tackle, which they did also yesterday with the signing of Bobby Hart. Like you make investments in places that a lot of, if you're not a contender, you really don't make that investment. You don't make that investment into Teddy Bridgewater if you aren't actually going to be a contender. So that's exactly what it comes down to. And it's a great move, because if Jared Goff was to go down, you have a guy who can step in, who's familiar with the Dan Campbell type offense because he was with him in New Orleans.
Yep.
And it's nearly the same thing that the Sean Payton runs, where like they're literally just putting you out there and you're not asked to do what he did in Miami, where he was in Miami and they were asking him to throw, some lasers down the field. Like you're not asking him to do that. You're asking him just to hit people in stride in short intermediate routes. And it's absolutely good, because to be honest, if you're looking at it from the realistic standpoint, he is literally the same quarterback as Jared Goff. He's just not as good as Jared Goff. That's what it comes down to.
Right.
If you ever need a quarterback to step in and be your guy to lead you through 2 to 3 games, this is the guy that you want. Like you don't want a guy like, I talked to a quarterback one time who was a backup quarterback in the NFL, and he always told me that you go where you fit in. Like you don't go to a place where you don't fit in. So that's where Teddy Bridgewater fits in. He fits in with the Detroit kind of offensive game plan, where you're not asked to throw it deep. You're asked to throw it short, intermediate routes, get it to your backs, get it to Amon-Ra St. Brown, and just get people in space. That's literally what it is.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Like a lot of people, a lot of insiders, Jeff Risdon, Mark Macron said he is your best backup in the league. Do you agree with that or disagree with that?
I mean, I think there's some others that can like rival up to it, but I think he's one of the best backups in the league, and I think that's one of the reasons that because people always said, like, if he was a good backup, why didn't he sign before that? Well, a lot of times what happens in the NFL or any league, when you're a hot commodity and you're a backup quarterback, you're going to go where you're wanted, and you're going to take this out. And it's what you see with like Ndamukong Suh, right?
Yep.
Everyone knows what he is. So all he has to do is say, I'm going to sign with this team, and they're probably going to sign him. So that's exactly what it comes down to.
What is the exact numbers that they signed him for?
That's what I'm not. I don't know. I haven't
seen the contract details.
I haven't seen the contract details yet. Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine it's more than what everyone thinks. Like, I don't think it's more than like the average, maybe above average backup cost.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a 1-year deal.
I see the numbers floated around before as like 10 million or something like that, and maybe up to 13 if he actually plays. But that's a good question to ask or find out. Do you hope I actually hope Teddy actually plays at the end of the season, because that means we've already locked up the division for the first time in NFL history for us in the North, locking up the division and playing the Minnesota Vikings with Teddy Bridgewater coming out and whipping out his old team. Wouldn't that be great, Joe?
Yeah, if there's any way you want to see Teddy Bridgewater, it's going to be when he's like coming in there as like, you need some time for, you're going to give people rest. You don't want to see him just inserted into the lineup when the chips are down. So hopefully that's the case and not the other way around, but that would be the best bet. Obviously if you can get him in there at the later half of the season, that means they're obviously in a good spot. So that's going to be good for the Lions.
So now Jared Goff and Teddy Bridgewater have one less receiver to throw to. Tom Kennedy, do you know what he injured? How did he injure himself? Do you know?
I'm not sure.
I think his knee. I think he took a knee.
It has to be something significant, because they're going to put him on injury reserve because they got him back off the waivers.
Yeah.
So it has to be something severe, not something that's just like, a nonchalant injury. But, it sucks because Tom Kennedy is like he's a warrior, and he's not the greatest wide receiver by any means, but he just gets the job done. But luckily for Detroit, they have enough guys that they could just role in the lineup. You know, you got Antoine Green, who could be the guy that could come out of camp. You got Denzel Mims. There's a lot of players that are going to come into the forefront. That's exactly what Detroit's going to have to do, because I mean, with JMO being suspended for the first 6 games, that could be, you're kind of limited in depth anyway. So you're kind of hoping that maybe Tom Kennedy could play, but obviously he's injured. And look, they might be looking at someone where they go out of training camp and there might be a cap casualty that might like hit the market. And I think the Lions could maybe take a strike at that too, if they don't like what they see from some of the guys.
Well, according to Coach Dable there, he was pumping up the Lions receiving corps today. We dominated the G-men today. Or do you think that's just coach speak?
No, I heard that they were dominating them. Like, I really did. I heard that the Lions were just dominating. One of the kids that people were mentioning was Drummond, which, if he's anything like the other Drummond that was with Detroit, Eddie Drummond, he'll be in good hands. But, like, you know, all you hear from people is that Drummond kid is, like, he's legit. So when you go into preseason, people are going to go into preseason action. They're going to see this Drummond kid. He's been doing this all preseason long, and he did it. I mean, the New York Giants media was like raving about this kid. They're like, this Drummond kid, who is this? You know, that's some of the things that Brett Holmes has been able to do. So if you go into the first preseason game and there's a kid that shows out and his name is Drummond, that's going to be the likelihood. The Lions are good at the wide receiver spot. It's just, you know, they're selfishly, I think about like the depth of the position, you know, like there's not, you know, with JMO out for the first 6 games, like you can't afford any injuries to that receiving core more than you have right now.
Well, knock on wood. We've been pretty lucky so far.
We're lucky, yeah.
Okay, so the Lions,
especially with the Chauncey Gardner-Johnson injury,
I know.
We avoided disaster right there. So
yeah, you're one of the first to break that. We signed Bobby Hart. Drafted by the G-men, started with the Bengals for 3 years, had stints with the Dolphins, Titans, and Bills. What do you know about this fella?
This is a great depth sign. This is a great depth signing for the Detroit Lions, because I mean, like, if you looked at their past like tackles in depth, you know, you had Matt Nelson, you had Dan Skipper, and all of them are pretty good. But Bobby Hart, he could start in this league for some teams. So the fact that he picked the Detroit Lions shows me, one, he thinks Detroit's going to be a competitive team, because last year he was on Buffalo, if I assume right.
Yep.
He was on Buffalo, and like when you're that late in your career, you're not going to just pick a team that you know, is going to be middling around the pack. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think you're signing Teddy Bridgewater if you're middling around the pack. So, like I said in the beginning, when you sign Teddy Bridgewater, you sign Bobby Hart. Those are depth pieces that you can use, especially going forward. There's going to be injuries along the offensive line. So when you have an offensive lineman that could just step in and be right there, like a guy like Bobby Hart, who has started in this league. I mean, we've seen what they did with Coyote Oshika. We've seen what they did last year with like guys like that. You know, there's another name, Evan Brown. You know, we've seen guys like that step in and just and play really well. Bobby Hart's been in the league, so he knows exactly what is expected of him, and I think his tenacity meets the eye for some of these guys.
Right on. Rise and fallers. Vaitai was listed first on the depth chart at right tackle, but last week you had what's his name again? Played with Denver. He used to play with us. Glasgow. He was noted to be taking first reps. So have you heard who is actually going to win this spot? That's my biggest concern, because Evan Brown, I do believe we did not get better with our offensive line losing Evan Brown and signing these Vaitai never gave up a sack in 2021. I figured Vaitai was going to win that right guard spot, but Graham Glasgow is sure, you know, he wants to play with his old teammates. He wants to, and he's got chemistry, right? He's played with these guys, right? So what do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know where this guard position is going to go. I really don't. I don't have a read on it. I mean, tomorrow I'm going to the practice, so maybe I'll have a better read on it tomorrow. But like everything you hear, like Vaitai, like the year he had before he got injured, he was really good.
Mhm.
And then we know what Graham Glasgow was next to Frank, and you can only imagine him next to Sewell. I mean, him being in Denver, I kind of expect his Pro Football Focus rankings to be a little bit bad because Denver's offensive line was not good, and that whole Denver organization was trash last year.
Mhm.
So it don't matter what you look at, like that's the reality of the situation. So, do I have a read on who's going to be the guard starting in week 1? I have no idea, but that's a big issue because I know people are looking at it and they're going Chris Jones is holding out right now, but
Yeah.
I guarantee you by week 1, Chris Jones's contract negotiations will be settled and he'll be in a lineup against the Detroit Lions. So having Frank Ragnow healthy, having a good guard between Sewell and Ragnow, that's going to be the key. And whoever it is, Glasgow or Vaitai, they're going to be asked to handle a lot of man.
So, are you going to the game on Friday? I gave
No,
my
I'm not.
tickets away to one of another podcaster. I have to work on Fridays, but I'm going to be watching on TV. What are you going to be looking for, Joe?
So
If you
mine's going to
think
be.
golf will start, is golf going to play a series?
See, that's what we don't know. Is like if he's gonna start or if he's not gonna play. Maybe he plays in a second game. Like we don't know if the starters are playing in the second game or the first game. I don't know how they're gonna work it out. Maybe they play a series or whatever. But JMO is gonna get a lot of reps.
Yeah.
Like Dan Campbell has said that he's gonna get a lot of reps. So, I mean, that's a guy that I'm watching. To be honest, like what do we have in JMO? What is he capable of? Like when he gets back, and honestly, he's just got to get a read of the playbook because when you get into Game 7. That's when he's coming back, and like you need to be all systems go by that time. You can't have a guy who comes in a lineup and he's making mistakes running the route trees that the Lions run. That's how it's gonna go. Like you have to, JMO's gonna be a guy that I'm watching. I'm gonna be watching those linebacker positions like Derek Barnes, Jack Campbell, Anzalone, and then I'm gonna be watching Broderick Martin up the middle because I told you in our last show with this Detroit Lions news show, Broderick Martin just reminds me of Damon Snacks Harrison, and he looked pretty damn good from all accounts today on with their joint practice with the Giants.
Yep.
So look, I don't need him to be great. I don't need him to be Aaron Donald. All I need him to do is just stuff the run. Like that's all I'm asking from Broderick Martin. I don't care about sacks. I think that's more Ali McNeil's kind of role. I don't care about any of that because you can put John Kaminsky in there. You can put Josh Pascal on an interior rush and he'll rush the passer. I'm not worried about that. Just help them stop the run because that's a big issue last year. And you look at the first couple games, they got a lot of good running backs coming out of the gate. So, I mean, even Kansas City can run the ball. So you have to stop the run. And Broderick Martin's the guy that I'm going to be watching because I just want to see what he does because when I watched him at Western Kentucky against UAB with Dwayne McBride, he really shined and he really showed up in those big games against big running backs. So that's what I'm looking for.
So I'm excited to see Jahmyr Gibbs. I don't know if he's going to play very much. You're probably going to see Reynolds play a lot.
Yeah, and Mo Ibrahim.
Yeah.
Ibrahim.
You think Jack Campbell? I hope to see all the rookies: Sam Laporta, Brian Branch. Not going to see Hendon Hooker, obviously. I'm hoping to see Broderick Martin and Kobe Sorsdal and Antoine Green.
Yeah.
But when's the cut down day? Let's tell the listeners how that works and when is because it's different this year. It goes from 90 to like 53 in one cut.
No, I think it goes 90 to 75.
Are you sure? I thought it was all one cut this time.
It might be all this, but because they changed the rules. Like
they did change the rules.
They changed the rules during COVID, and now they changed the rules again. I think the cut down date is after the last preseason game, before I think the last Wednesday in August or whatever.
Yep.
Not entirely sure, but they're gonna have a lot of decisions on their hands because even Brad Holmes even said it on 97 on the ticket earlier this week. He said like the roster is better than he's ever had in Detroit, and he's gonna have to make some really tough decisions in terms of cutting players when it comes on the cut time, because this roster is way better than it's ever been. So hopefully he makes the right decisions. I know he will make the right decisions, but it's just like, there's gonna be names that they cut that people are gonna be like, wow, why? Like, why do we cut this guy? You know what I'm saying? But it's just part of the process. I think that this Lions team is really deep. I think it's deeper than most other years. So
Mhm.
they're gonna have to figure out. They're gonna make some tough decisions.
Yeah, they're going to be waived. I doubt if anybody's going to take their wave prospects, because then we could just throw them on the practice squad, right?
Yeah, I think Hendon Hooker is gonna start on the pup list. To be honest,
Oh yeah, for sure.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I don't think you'd sign Teddy Bridgewater if you know that Hendon Hooker would be ready, to be a backup. So I think he'll start the pup list. It's interesting because like you heard that Hendon Hooker is throwing and everything, but I think that they're trying to slow him along, because when you're a quarterback in the NFL, like being a rookie, third round pick, like off a knee injury, I think they just want to like smooth him back into a rotation where he comes back into the game and he's not stretching, he's not
Yeah.
trying to learn the game on the fly, because I think that's one of the biggest mistakes people make.
Right. Yeah. So I'm really pumped up for this season. I don't have any more questions. Do you want to talk about something else? Do you have anything on your mind before we end this broadcast?
I mean, here we can go a couple of different ways. Like, I mean, I this guy, he doesn't have a name on it, but he said don't cut Riley Patterson, and that's one of the things I think is the biggest. Like, it's one of the biggest parts of the game right now, because with the Lions right now, one of their biggest battles, and this is another battle we should look at for Friday, is the kicking situation. Is it John Parker Romo, or is it Riley Patterson? Because if you've been reading some of the Pride of Detroit or DetroitLions.com, like they've all been saying the same thing. Like these guys are matching each other, like
Exactly.
kick for kick for kick. So if you're a Lions fan, we've been really spoiled with having good kickers. Like we've been really spoiled. Like if you think about it, like look at like what the Bears have gone through with Eddie Pinero and all these guys that they've had after Robbie Gould. Like it's not easy. I mean, look at the Cowboys. Like last year they were in the playoffs. That kicker missed like 5 kicks in a row, like extra points. So like we've been really lucky with kickers. So hopefully we get right with the kickers, because I mean, as good as Badgley was last year,
Yeah.
I think there was a lot more to be desired from the kicking position. He was a little bit inconsistent, so hopefully they get a good glimpse of what the kickers like John Parker Romo and Riley Patterson are capable of.
Yeah. Hey, Walter. Walter was supposed to be on, but he had to work today or put some overtime in. But he's going to be on next week. We have a very special guest coming on next week. We got a Patterson comment. Do you want to? Yes, I do believe that. What did we give up to get him back? Did we not give up a 7th or something?
We gave up a conditional draft pick, so I don't really think it was much. I think it might have been a 7th round pick. You're right, but yeah, it's getting rid of Riley Patterson the first time was definitely a mistake. So these guys are right. Like, but if John Parker Romo comes out and he's kicking 55 yarders, like, what are you gonna do? Like, what are you gonna say? Can you really tell the people, like, if you're Brad Holmes, like, oh yeah, I know Riley Patterson's loved by the fan base, but this guy, he can kick a 55-yard field goal with ease. Like, it's also like, I think what people don't get with kickers is like, if you get a kicker that nails 55-yarders consistently but can't hit it inside the 40 and inside the 30, like, you are just dead out of water, because that's the most important spot.
Risers and fallers. This Sparling Thomas. What are your thoughts on that guy? Is he going to make this team?
Starling Thomas.
It's cornerback, right?
UAB. I think he's going to make the roster. I really do. I think that the way, if you've been hearing things like the Giants media was raving about how when he when he went to go and I think one of the Giants players, Sterling Thomas, was going up for the ball, and he had to catch. Like he wanted to he wanted to catch it, and he caught it, but Sterling Thomas popped it out. And look, everything you've been hearing about this kid is just he's a baller. He can play, and if you watch him at UAB, you can see that he can play. So look, I like the Sterling Thomas story. Hopefully he's one of the guys that Brad Holmes picks, like that out of the UDFA market, and he turns into a stud like Jerry Jacobs, or any of the guys that he's turned into a stud. But I think that Sterling Thomas is going to make this team for sure. I think it's going to be relying on how he does in the preseason, because he's going to get a good glimpse on it.
Right on. That's awesome take, bud. Anything else we could shut her down at 30 minutes. Next week's going to be more of an exciting show. We're going to have more information for you. We're going to have a game under our belt. I'm so freaking excited. I tell you, I'm so excited.
Yeah. What I wanted to ask you, Darcy, is like, if you look at this team right now as it's currently constituted, like what's your expectation for this team, like moving into the season, like as you see right now, like what's your expectation for the team right now?
I said 9 wins.
So
last year I said 7. I was happy with 7.
Okay.
Last year I expected us to go to the Super Bowl this year, but I said 7 because I'm not a homer last year, and we got 9. So if we look at Scott and Gator's prediction, you always add 2 or subtract 2 or whatever. So I always do that. So I'm looking for 11 wins. I'm looking for 11 wins, but I'll be happy with 9 and win the division. Have a home playoff game. It just that gauntlet of Kansas City and then the Seattle Seahawks are, they improved. They had just as good as draft as we did. They had almost the same picks as we did. Almost. I was just like, oh man, I don't want to be a homer. If we come out of this 2-2 out of the first quarter and go to Green Bay and win again and come out of it 2-2, I'll be happy, because I do believe we have a stretch where we can win 5 in a row and then go to play the Baltimore Ravens and get our ass kicked, because he's definitely Harbaugh is a better coach. Like,
yeah,
come on now. How much can you throw the dice and then go for it on 4th down, and then because there's going to be times that we're not going to actually get it, or a fake punt. There's going to be time, because people are going to be they're going to be getting used to Dan Campbell's way of coaching.
Yeah, I look at it like this. I predicted 9 wins last year, full disclosure. This is my 2nd year in a row I've got the Reliance victories right. So I didn't have the tie-in last year, so I don't count. I mean, the year before, I don't count that, because that tie was total bullcrap. Yeah. But
that lost us a pick, a spot.
I know it's so crazy how, but you know what? You got the better of the pick with Aiden Hutchinson, because I think that Aiden Hutchinson is way better than Trayvon Walker. And if you're reading Rick Spielman, the former GM of the Vikings, he was literally saying today that, like, Hutchinson is going to be an absolute animal, and his effort is unmatched. So between Hutch, Thibodeau, and Trayvon Walker, you hit the lottery with the guy that you got. So good for Brad Holmes. But like, going back to the win scenario, I think this team is way better than people think. I think so. I think they're going to win 11 games. So I think the discrepancy between where they were last year at 9 wins, I think they're at least 2 games better. Like Walter said, he said the roster is at least 2 wins better than a year ago. And I totally agree. Like, if you look at this team, like, go look at last year, right? And go look at the losses that they had. Go look at the losses they had. Like Seattle, you didn't force a punt. You should have won that game.
Yep.
The Vikings game, you spilled up milk all over yourself. You should have won that game.
Yep.
You look at some of these teams that you lost to early on, and those were convincing. Kind of, you should have won that game.
Mm-hmm. No, there was a lot of close games that we should have won, but we dominated. The wins that we did win, like the New York Giants. Nobody expected us to win, but we put the ball right down their throat. We smacked them in the face. Um, I'm excited for this season. I'm telling you, man.
Yeah, I agree with what Manny said. You know, they should have beat Philly and Miami. Like they should have beat Miami and Philly. So
You know,
like you could take it everywhere where you want. Like they win 2 of those games, they're an 11-win team. They're in the playoffs, and they're probably going to be in the division. And Walter brought up a good point. I like what he's saying. He's Dan Campbell is more seasoned right now. You know, I just want to get I would just want to get this off my chest because I think a lot of people they make this description of Dan Campbell like he's gonna go for it no matter what. I was always told by a coach, like when I was playing sports, like when your team is bad, you're gonna make more aggressive decisions than you have ever made in your entire life because you have to. Like you have to. Now, where Dan Campbell comes from, the Sean Payton coaching tree, the Bill Parcells coaching tree, they're a little bit more aggressive than most coaches, which is a good thing. Because when you need a big play, look what happened in the Super Bowl with Sean Payton calling that onside kick in the Super Bowl. That play turned the game over. That's how they won the Super Bowl against the Indianapolis Colts with Peyton Manning at the helm. That onside kick, that aggressive move that they made
I
was
remember that.
was a critical. That was one of the best moments in Super Bowl history. Like I don't care what anybody says. Like when you make a decision to go out at halftime and kick an onside effing kick, like you
Yep.
understand the ramifications if you don't make that onside kick. The
Your
balls
scoring
on
range.
the balls on the guy. Like Sean Payton made an absolute ballsy move that was it could have backfired in his face, but like that's no guts, no glory. You know that's how it goes.
Yep, the riverboat gambler for sure. He's the new Ron Rivera, I do think. But I love Dan Campbell. I've never seen a coach that demanded so much respect. I coached for 8 year guys. I'm on the other side of the river, and I coach for the OFC Senior Varsity Travel. And I've won 4 championships in 8 years, so I know about winning. I'm a demanding coach, and I see a lot of good things. I can't wait for this. I keep saying that because I can't wait to watch the game so we have more to talk about. I'm a guy that, I can't just go off of what other people are saying.
Right.
I have to have eyeballs on the field. And I'm so jealous of you, Joe, that you're going to have eyeballs on the field so you can actually, because somebody else's perspective is not your own perspective, right?
Right.
I've went to coaching clinics. I've met GMs of the NFL. Met coaches in the NFL, and you have to have a trained eye, and you have to know what you're doing. Like I know a lot about the center exchange, quarterback and coach. I'm a running back coach. I'm a defensive line coach. I haven't seen Broderick Martin play yet, so I'm not a college guy. You are. I'm a CFL scout kind of guy. That's what I do, right?
Yeah, it's funny because Walter put a question out here. He's been great. So Walter put a question out. Who did I want at 6? Honestly, I wanted Tyree Wilson, the kid from Texas Tech, because I feel like if you paired edge with Aiden Hutchinson, maybe that could have been good. But the way it shook out, and you traded back to get Jahmyr Gibbs, best of both worlds. Because then that trade netted you that pick that you got Sam Laporta, and you just got 2 picks that absolutely can help your offense right now. And if you look at what's happening in training camp with Jahmyr Gibbs, I mean, some of the Giants beat writers, which honestly, the Giants beat writers were really, really good today. They were absolutely like giving you a play-by-play detail of what was happening with the teams. And they were saying, every one of them was saying Jahmyr Gibbs was absolute animal. And I want to read something from Rick Spielman because I thought that he's got a great eye for talent. Like he used to be the Vikings general manager, and we all know who his brother is. It's Chris Spielman, and he said Detroit will have 4 rookies: Gibbs, Campbell, Laporta, and Branch play significant roles this year. All stuck out at practice today. Detroit's defense looks more athletic in the secondary with the free agent additions of Gardner Johnson and Cam Sutton. And look, I think that's something that we have all been waiting for. Like we know that we have a great offense. Like this offense was top 5 just last year. So if you can get a defense that is absolutely just, athletic and makes plays, like I was talking to a guy who actually works for the New York Giants, and he was at practice today, and I'm looking forward to seeing him because I haven't saw him in a long time. But one of the things that he said that I really want to focus on was Kirby Joseph had a hell of a day today at Lions training camp from all perspectives. And the one thing that this guy said to me, and I swear to you, I kind of said, no, dude, you're wrong. But I'm not going to tell him he's wrong because I want him to be right. But he told me that Kirby Joseph could be an all-pro this year as a safety.
Wow.
Like, you think about this guy who's been in the league for 25 plus years, he's been in the organization for however long he's been in the organization, but he's been with 3 different teams in the NFL. He's won 2 Super Bowls with 2 teams. So he's been a part of some winning cultures. And he literally told me, he's like, look, this Kirby Joseph kid is going to be a really good player. If he's not an all-pro this year, he'll be an all-pro next year. And I, watching him in his rookie year, you're like, okay, this kid got a lot of talent playing the ball, making plays. But if Kirby Joseph is an all-pro, oh my God, like that would be.
Isn't he a ball hawk, eh?
He's a good ball hawk, and even at Illinois, because you know what? A lot of people don't watch Illinois for their defense, and let's be honest, like Illinois football is not something that you really want to watch on a Saturday. If you're watching college football, you're not going, oh, let me go watch this Illinois football game because they're so good. No, you're not. You're not saying that. You're definitely not. But when you watched Illinois football, like, because I watched them because they're in the Big Ten. Like, Kirby Joseph did stand out with some of the ball hawking tendencies he has. But you could tell that Aaron Glenn's coached him, and you could tell that if he's learning off Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, another guy who you can learn off of, that's something that will help Kirby Joseph more than and Brian Branch too. Brian Branch is going to learn off this Chauncey Gardner-Johnson guy too, because they're playing the same position that Aaron Glenn wants to play in this defense.
Don't we have did we not have a good draft? Like Brian Branch at 45, he was projected to go in the first. How the hell did he slip through? And what are all the other NFL franchises thinking when they passed on this dude?
I don't know why the Packers traded with us. I really don't. Like the fact that the fact that the Packers traded with us to get Brian Branch is just baffling to me, because, like you said, Brian Branch is supposed to be a first-round pick. Mm-hmm. And if you watch Brian Branch at Alabama, the guy was a team captain. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're a team captain for Nick Saban, like, what does that tell you? Like, that tells you everything that you need to know about this kid. Like, he is a legit guy on defense. And when you call Nick Saban's defense, it even means more.
I'm going to call him the Missile. That's my nickname for him. Because every time I watch a highlight, he's like a missile coming down, and he doesn't miss tackles. I'm excited for him. He's probably going to start. Do you believe or no?
Who?
Brian Branch.
Oh, Brian Branch. Yeah, I think he's going to get significant playing time with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, the slot cornerback role. Yep. I really do think that they're going to put Brian Branch in like positions where he's going to go against the run. I really do. I think they're going to put him in a lot of positions to succeed. So I'm excited to see that. And what Fred said, he said, we finally got the front office we have needed for decades. That their eye for talent is second to none, and the way they get picks is phenomenal. And you know what? I can't disagree with them. No, I mean, if you look at this front office, Darcy, like, you've been a Lions fan forever. We had Mark Schmidt on the program a lot. You had Mark Schmidt on the program a lot. Yeah. And you look at the way the Detroit Lions have drafted historically. Like, they've drafted good players. There's no doubt about it. They drafted Barry Sanders. They drafted Billy Sims. They drafted Calvin Johnson, Sue, Stafford. But they've never put a draft together where they have a complete team. Yeah. And they've never done it in consecutive years like Brad Holmes has been able to do. So what Brad Holmes is doing right now with the way he's stacking these drafts up, the way he's compounding his picks with talent that's playing right away. Like you look at Malcolm Rodriguez, yeah, like most teams he wouldn't have started last year, but he played a really good role for this Detroit Lions team last year. He was a really good player. And you look at Derek Barnes, there people are saying that he might start at linebacker this year. So that's going to be huge. And that's one of the things that people just don't get. Like, like we've been talking about it forever. Like if the Lions would have just drafted like this with the Stafford years, they would have won a Super Bowl. So look, the only thing that's been missing from the Lions forever isn't ownership. I know people like to say ownership is an issue, but it's never been about the ownership. It's more about the ownership hiring the right people. Yeah. Like, I mean, you hire Bob Quinn, you know what's going to happen? You're going to suck. You hire Matt Millen, you know what's going to happen? You're going to take 50,000 wide receivers in the first round. So, like, that's what's going to happen. So, hopefully, we know that we have a good general manager now. So, in the way that he's getting undrafted free agents, like Starling Thomas, like you got Jerry Jacobs, like that's exactly what you want to see from your general manager.
This is the deepest I've ever seen the Detroit Lions ever since I've been following them since 1988, 89. It was right around that 16 years old age. So this is the deepest I've been reporting on the Detroit Lions for the last 12 years. I'm the founder of the Detroit Lions Facebook page, just a little page, nothing compared to Joe. It's only like 2K. Please subscribe. You guys put all your information. Subscribe to the One Pride Nation. That is a huge group. That is great. That's Joe's page group, and it's growing
every freaking day.
Yeah, that one's growing quick.
I can't believe it.
I think it's one of the most famous or popular Facebook groups out there because I'm in like 20 of these things. So
it keeps growing and growing and growing. And you know what? It's cool because, like, honestly, like, here's the thing, Darcy. Like, we both know this. Like, Lions fans are the best in the business. Like, they are just the best fans, and they've dealt with a lot of bull crap that no other fan base can say, yeah, we've dealt with that too. Like, you have not dealt with the type of stuff that we have dealt with being a Lions fan. So these people are amazing. They deserve to have a winner. And honestly, like, people say all the time that, Detroit is hockey town. I'll tell you this right now. Yeah. It is a hockey town. We are a hockey town in Detroit. But if the Lions start winning, you're gonna ratchet that thing up to 100 because we've seen the Pistons win a championship. We've seen the Tigers. Well, I haven't seen the Tigers win a championship. I've seen them get close, but they have won the championship. We've seen the Red Wings win multiple cups, but if the Lions actually win, you could ratchet this thing up to 100. I don't think it'll be enough. Like, they might just absolutely. If they get a home playoff game and they win, I mean, you might as well call an MSP for the riot because they're gonna go crazy. So this is a fan base that's passionate. They sold out that building even when the team was bad, and this team is better than anybody thinks. And look, they sold out season tickets, so that tells you everything you need to know about the hype that's going around this team, and you gotta love it. I mean, especially with us, we do this show. With you do this show. With all the guys that you deal with, like, man, like the amount of people that are going to be just tuned in is going to be fun to watch, and it's going to be fun to watch this whole season.
Oh yeah, I can't wait. Yeah, I got a whole bunch of important special people that are lined up. This one's right here. There it is. He's pretty important too. He's my boss. So. Man, I'm so excited for this season. That's the third time I said that. Anything else you want to talk about, brother?
I mean, what's something that you really want to talk about? Because I think there's a couple of things we could talk about.
I'm worried about if you didn't tune into last week's show, I'm worried about our three linebackers that are under the age of 23. I think that there's a lot of youth there with Alex Anzalone being 28. Who do you think is going to be the Sam, and who do you think is going to be the Will, and who's going to be the green dot, and who doesn't start? Do you think Julian Okwara makes this team too?
Oh, see, that's what I worry about because when you watch Julian Okwara, like, the kid could be special, but he just doesn't put it together consistently. And you heard Dan Campbell talk about that. Like, he just needs to be consistent. Like, bring your consistent game. Like, that's one of the biggest things we talk about, being consistent and not making the wrong moves. And when you look at this, like when you look at the linebacker position, like you were talking about, the one thing that I look at with this linebacker position is, yeah, it's very young, but you have a guy like Alex Anzalone that has played meaningful games and with meaningful teams,
Yeah.
and I think they're going to go 2 linebackers. And I think they're going to have, Walter said something about Branch going to get a lot of snaps in the box. He could be the extra linebacker with a better range. I think you could see that. I think you're going to see Brian Branch be one of those linebackers in the box. And I think that they're going to move players around routinely, and they're going to keep them fresh. Like, the one thing I can say about this linebacker core, though, is I don't know who's going to start. Like, you hear Derek Barnes and Alex Anzalone are on the depth chart right now at number 1. But I think all of them are going to play. Like, I think Malcolm Rodriguez is going to get big time snaps. I think that Jack Campbell is going to get eased into the rotation. And you know what? There's something I just want to say. Like, people are expecting Jack Campbell to start, right?
Mm-hmm.
And normally with the Detroit Lions, like, you would expect your rookies to start. But you're not in that position no more. You don't need Jack Campbell to start. Like, you just don't. Like, you want him to start, but you don't need him to start. And your first game, who you're going up against, it's probably best if you just ease them into the NFL, because the guy that they're going up against in Patrick Mahomes, my God, he could really he can make a rookie look stupid in his first game, and that could wreck all his confidence. I'm not saying that's going to happen to Jack Campbell, but when you have a guy like Patrick Mahomes on the other side he's a slick player with the ball, and you really can't read Patrick Mahomes. Like, you ever watch the guy? Sometimes he makes these plays that you're like, only that guy is making that play. Like, there's only one person in the league that's making that play. It's Patrick Mahomes.
Did you watch the quarterback where they take the 4 quarterbacks? My thing is, do not piss that guy off, because when he plays so much better when he is fired up. Damn. Go up there and say, nice play, and shake his hand. Don't get under his skin, because he'll use that against you. Don't do it.
You know what's funny, though? So I watched that quarterback thing that I'm showing Netflix, and I watched it. I go, man, I really do like Kirk Cousins. Like, I can't even lie. Like, he's a nice guy. But when I saw Patrick Mahomes, and when he got pissed off, like you just said, like, every great player, I don't care what sport you play, there's something that ticks differently in them. Like, Michael Jordan was, if you watched The Last Dance with Michael Jordan, like, he took everything personally.
Yep.
And you see what happens with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like, there's just people that they take little bits of information and they configure it to where, like, they're just pissed off at the world. And, like, you watch that and you're like, oh my God, like, Patrick Mahomes is a scary guy, especially when he's mad. He's usually a jokester. Like, if you were watching a quarterback series, he's usually a jokester. But when you see him mad, like, I just don't get him mad. That's all I can say. Don't get him mad. It's like Michael Jordan. You were not trying to get Michael Jordan or Wayne Gretzky mad. Like, you're not trying to get those guys mad.
The Bad Boys Pistons got him mad, and they frustrated the hell out of him. Do you remember Game 4 where they shut him out to, can't remember, it was under 10 points or something in the playoff there. They got under his skin, and he needed to get stronger. And I think back.
I think you look at all those, like, you look at guys that like Michael Jordan. Like, I don't think he would have been what he was without the Bad Boys Pistons. You know.
Yeah.
I think, especially like you look in like basketball and hockey mainly, like, I think those guys, especially football too, like, some of those guys, they need to be humbled and then they come back stronger. Because if remember that, like, that AFC Championship where Tom Brady beat Patrick Mahomes in that thriller in overtime, you've seen Patrick Mahomes come back with like a little bit of a different kind of style. Like, he knew exactly what he was going to have to do to beat Tom Brady again if he was going to face him, and he did in the Super Bowl. So that's all you need to know.
Yep.
It's going to be fun though. The preseason coming up with the Giants, the Jaguars, and the Panthers.
Yep.
It's going to be very, very interesting to see what comes about with those games, because look, if you're watching these preseason games and you're looking at them obviously they're not like the typical NFL game. Like you're not watching them to be like, oh, I hope they win. You're hoping that one, they stay healthy, and number two, you hope that you see a player come out of nowhere and just make the roster better. Like if it's a Drummond kid from the wide receiver position, if it's Broderick Martin in the run game, if it's Starling Thomas as a cornerback, like if these players make this team better, like that's all you want from the preseason, and it's gonna be interesting to watch what happens in the preseason.
Absolutely, yes. Make sure you tune in at what is it, 7:30? I do believe it's on the NFL Network. It's
Yep.
I heard I was listening to 97.1 The Ticket, and they have an alternate cast. There's like 10 different guys, like Glover Quinn.
Yeah. You can listen to that on the app. You know, it's cool because the NFL is actually doing something right that they've never really done is like kind of like go be more innovative than the rest of the leagues. So you look at the NHL and you look at the MLB and the NBA, like the NFL is running laps around them and the way that they innovate, the way that you can watch games. Like the fact that you can watch a game on Nickelodeon as a kid is baffling to me. I mean, I don't think that there should be a Super Bowl on Nickelodeon because I think kids should learn the game of football. But
Yep.
if you're a kid that never was introduced to football and this is your first like introduction to football, you're gonna be so hyped. Like you're gonna be like, wow, this is a great sport. I'm gonna keep wanting to watch it. I might want to play it. Like that's what the NFL does. And this whole thing where they put it on your phone. I mean, with the NFL.com and the NFL Plus, I don't know if you have subscribed to NFL Plus, Darcy.
I have the Daz on.
But that $10 a month that it is, it's totally worth it because you can go back and watch the all 22 film, which is like available.
Really?
Yeah, you can go. It's available 24 hours after the game. So they'll give you like every play and like from every different direction. You're watching the game and you're like, for instance, like last year when Rashad Penny had that first down to ice the game against the Lions with that Seahawks Lions game. One of the things that you saw on that all 22 film was that Anzalone and Malcolm Rodriguez ran right into each other, and that's what allowed him to escape to the outside. So that's why I like the all 22 film, and I'm gonna do more breakdowns of that all 22. But it's so fun to watch, and like just that stuff is just great to me. Like I love when you could just look at the game and look at it from different angles and just see what the coaches see. Like obviously, I'm not gonna see what the coaches see because I'm a different person.
Yeah.
But if you're a guy that specializes on offensive line, you're gonna watch like the all 22, and you're gonna be like, this guy missed a block, this guy didn't make the right play, and that's exactly what happened. So that's why I like it. So
well, part of being a coach, you have to watch a lot of Huddy film studies on the other teams, so you see the coaches' tendencies. And some coaches are just so arrogant; they run back-to-back plays just because they know you're. Because I'm in a smaller town, I'm not in like Toronto or something like that, where they have a lot of talent, right? But I did coach the Brown twins from London. They played on my flag football team, so pretty excited that Chase got drafted to the Eagles, and the other Brown kid got to the Bengals, running back.
it's great to see kids that you coached. Like obviously I've never coached, but like it's great to see people that you like obviously I came up with like Jake Moody. Like Jake Moody was a kid at Northville High School when I was a senior at Franklin High School. And to see him get drafted by the 49ers as a kicker in the third round, it's pretty damn cool. So when you see guys like that happen, it's like it's really cool.
Yeah. Also, I was in communication with Chuba Hubbard, and I gave those tickets away to Mark Orm because he does a lot for those podcasts, and I wanted to go down and actually meet him face to face. But I really wanted the Lions to draft him. I messaged Chris Spielman, and they didn't. I wanted him in the fourth round, but
you wanted Chuba Hubbard?
Yeah, I did, but I think we grabbed somebody that we need. I think we grabbed Barnes.
Yeah,
I think we got Barnes with that.
I think that was it. You know, Chuba Hubbard was man.
The kid was running. When I was talking to him when he was 15, the kid was running 4.04 at 15.
It's amazing because like when you hear about these kids coming out of like the amount of talent that they have coming out of like wherever they come out of, like whatever high school, whatever county, state, like just hearing what they do in like these games, like the high school games and everything, and you hear how good they are, like you don't really believe it, and then you see them in college, and you're like, wow, like that kid is good. Chuba Hubbard was so good at Oklahoma State. Like I had a fantasy college football team, which was so stupid because half the players I didn't even know. But like Chuba Hubbard was one of my guys. Like I loved Chuba Hubbard, like especially with the way he ran.
Yeah,
He's
quick.
Pretty cool.
He's quick.
He's
very
good.
quick.
He's gonna do good for Carolina. I think that they just needed. I think they needed a quarterback, and hopefully Bryce Young is that guy because I think Chuba Hubbard could be really good if you give him the right circumstances. You know.
Yep. Well, I think this is it. We're going to end this show. Joe, thank you so much for letting me produce or be an admin to the Detroit Lions news.
Oh, you're totally welcome. You know what? It's fun having all you guys on there because like I tell people all the time, like I got you and Minek, and I got Tyler, and I got Russell, and that's just fun to see you guys produce different stuff because I think that it's great that like we all have different types of stuff that we do. So, you know what? It's fun, and we're gonna have a great season, so it's gonna be fun to watch. And I'll definitely be on next time too.
All right, One Pride, baby. Thank you. Let's go. One Pride, baby.
Do your best. Let's go. Lions on 3. 1, 2, 3. Lions.
Oh my God! Victory Sunday.
The Giants look at their schedule and they go, "Oh, the Detroit Lions," and they put the big W, right?
Right.
It's folks. It's everybody that is on the screen right now that is what makes this special because this organization has been so bad for so long. Yet here we all are on a Sunday night at 7:00, chopping it up about this football team because winning 3 in a row and getting this done for the first time since 2017, and like Mark said, having some momentum for this fan base.
When we played against the Patriots one game on Thanksgiving, I had a pretty good game too, and it was just the atmosphere is just different. It's just there is just everybody's ready. You get a chance to wear the throwback uniforms. It was just fun.
I think it's a mixture of both. I think you got to have a good program, but I think the city, the way it's viewed nationally, like the people in Detroit, the business people, the money makers, the marketers, they got to market Detroit different nationally.